Hey everybody, welcome back. And in this section, we are going to talk about Azure Virtual Machine Networking. Everything starts from NIC, which is going to be the network interface card attached to your virtual machine. And that interface card will have the IP address and all the routing information. Let's take a look on the virtual machine what we created earlier. So this is the Windows machine which is part of VNet 1 and it is also part of the public subnet which is having a range of 10.10.2.0/24. So first time when you spin the first resource inside the VNet, it is going to get the fourth IP from a range which is defined. So here is a /24. Hence, you see dot 4 is being allocated to this network interface. On this virtual machine, you can have more than one network interface card. Initially, when you configure it, you will start with one. Then on top of the network interface card, you are going to have the NSG, which is going to be the network security group. Here you can configure access list based rules to protect your resources within the subnet. Then you are going to have the NAT gateway. By default, when you are going to configure a virtual machine inside the VNet, a NAT gateway will be provisioned by Azure, and there will be a default route towards the NAT gateway. But that is the resource which is something managed by Azure. However, you have an option to create your NAT gateway. You can assign IP prefix or maybe a public IP addresses to NAT gateway. And you can route your traffic accordingly. So this network interface card is having 2.4 IP address and its default gateway is going to be .1. This will be mapped with this public IP address when the traffic goes out. And all the traffic towards internet will go from the NAT gateway, whether it's inbound or is outbound. I'm logged into my Azure portal and the testing I wanted to perform on VNet 1 and the IP address which is assigned to this is 20.244.113.78. When I do the RDP to the system, and open the browser, type what is my ip.com, it is reflecting the same IP address being detected by this website. Now let's validate other properties of virtual machine. So we are inside this overview tab, and in overview we can see we are running a Windows machine with version 11 Pro. Standard DS1 V2, that is going to be the size. The public address which is allocated to this machine is 20.244.113.78, and this is the IP which it is going to use for any inbound and outbound connectivity. This machine is part of the VNet 1 and part of the subnet which is public. Now we will be focusing on networking section of this machine. If I go here, on the top, you can see attach network interface. You can attach multiple network interfaces. You can also deattach network interface, but this is the action you are only going to perform when this machine is not running state. So let's stop this machine and add another network interface. Now this virtual machine status is in stopped deallocated, so it's not running anymore. Let's go to the networking section, and now we can see you have option to attach network interface which was grayed out earlier. So let's try to add it. The moment you click here, it is going to ask if you have any existing interface. It could have come here in drop down. However, we do not have any, so let's create an attach interface. I wanted to give it a name, second interface. The primary IP which was allocated to this machine was from public subnet, which was 10.10.2.0. However, this time I wanted to give a IP address from a different range, which is going to be the private. Network security group is going to be basic. Now we see the IP assignment type. Either you want to go for the dynamic or you have option to choose static. If you go for the dynamic, it means the next available IP will be allocated here. While doing other lab, I had utilized .4. So if I go for this option now, the .5 is going to be allocated to this machine. So let's hit create. Creating network security group. It might take a minute to create and attach interface to virtual machine. Now we can see the status is it is attaching network interface. Now the secondary interface is reflecting here, and the IP which has got assigned to this network interface card is 10.10.1.5, and that is what was expected. Now we will attach a network interface with a static IP address. So we'll click here. Now you can see the existing interface. It is popping up in the list. However, we need to create a new one. This time you need to choose a different name, and let's take this IP address from 10.10.2.0. Leave rest of the fields default. The moment you click on static, you need to put the entry here 10.10.2. And whatever the IP address you want to choose. So in this case, I'm going to choose .10 and click create. This is still creating, and now it is attaching a network interface. Now we can see the interface has been attached, and this was the IP address which was given it to this machine is reflecting here. And that is something was expected out of this lab. Let's now take a look on property. If you recall it, while creating this Windows virtual machine, we had allocated a public IP address. So if you click on that and go to the network interface, under IP configuration, the IP config one, this is IPv4, the primary, and the private IP address is 10.10.2.4, which was dynamically assigned IP address because it is coming from the DHCP, and you had one public IP address which is 20.244.113.78. Now click on that. At any given time, you can also associate or deassociate these public IP addresses. And you can change the assignment type. It can be dynamic, it can be static. If it is a static, it is coming from Microsoft Azure pool. And if it is a static, you will be charged to reserve that IP address for you. So we can go back to networking section and let's try to assign a IP address to the secondary interface what we have created. IP configuration, go to associate, and this is asking public IP address. If you have existing one, you can associate it. These are the IP addresses already associated with the machines, so we will have to create a new one for the new interface. The SQ type can be basic or standard. Assignment can be dynamic or static. Let's try to associate standard. The moment you click on the standard, it is always going to be static and it is going to be reserved for you. Click on save. It has been saved. Let's go back and look at the property. For under the IP configuration, you can see a new IP has been allocated, which is a public IP address to the new interface what we have added. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next section.